Assume everyone can see it because no one is saying otherwise. So, hello, I'm Andrea Guatirojo. I'm the Stakeholder Relations Manager of the Ammonia Energy Association. I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I'm very excited to hear and learn from all the topics and all the presentations throughout this 3-day webinar. So before I start talking about all these, the amazing future of ammonia energy and all the projects and projections for ammonia, I would like to start by talking a bit more about what is the association, what we do, and how we do it. So some of you, or most of you, are already familiar with the Ammonia Energy Association, but for those who aren't, we are a global industry association that promotes a responsible use of ammonia in a sustainable energy economy. So we look at both decarbonizing supply and also on how can we support the development of demand for new applications of ammonia, specifically in energy markets as a hydrogen-dense fuel. So how we do it, we'll do it through our members. So as I mentioned, some of you in this webinar are already members of the AEA, and you know how this works. But all the projects we have is through our members. We have 4 strategic pillars, which are knowledge stewardship, program development, collaboration, and advocacy. And through these 4 strategic pillars, we have all our projects. For example, you might know the newsletter. We have articles, webinars. We have a conference coming up in Phoenix, Arizona from the 15th to the 17th of November. We have a certification initiative that I will talk about it at the end of this presentation, working groups, consultations, and our last pillar, that is advocacy. We are at the moment developing this pillar. So we relaunched the association in 2018. So this area is a new area of the AEA, and we are at the moment working with our members to develop this further. So here is a slide of all our members. At the moment, we have 178. I love to show this slide because I think it's a great visual representation of how much the ammonia energy interest and projects have been growing. I've been working with ammonia for the AEA for 6 months, but with ammonia for 7 years. Like my master's was on green ammonia, my PhD was on green ammonia. So now that I'm here and I show this slide with all the organizations involved in low carbon ammonia is amazing. So inside the association, we look also with our members existing markets like fertilizers and other uses like for chemicals, but also at new markets, which is ammonia for maritime fuel, power generation, hydrogen carrier. And well, first, now to talk about ammonia and all the projects, I would like to start by pointing out where we are in terms of production. So all these markets that I was talking about in the previous slide require huge volumes of low carbon or free carbon ammonia. We can't run power plants or coal combust with coal if we don't have very large volumes. And when I say very large volumes, I mean millions of tons of ammonia per year, of low carbon ammonia. And what it's interesting to look at is how quickly the ammonia industry itself and project developers that are looking at this space have started scaling up. So we've gone from where we were 80 years ago when the University of Minnesota put that first wind ammonia demonstration plant on the ground and turned it on after spending almost 10 years figuring out how to do it. And then this year, a proper industrial ammonia plant that says hey, let's just slack on some very large electrolyzers and let's actually do some partial decarbonization on an industrial case. And yes, this might be a demonstration size, but this is industrial, it is commercial, and this is a proof that we are actually doing this. And then we have under construction in Saudi Arabia and other places, the next kind of concept of the world scale renewable plant, which obviously there are a lot of fossil-based low carbon ammonia developments as well. But specifically, the NEON plant in Saudi Arabia illustrates something very interesting. It says, this is possible, we can build it, we can build it at 1 million tons per year, fully renewable. And then the next step in this scale of production to enable all this energy application is to take this world scale green ammonia plant and ask, how can we do it cheaper, right? So we must build 10 of them, put them together, and that's how we have 6,500 square kilometers site of wind and solar in Bilberia, the Asian Renewable Energy Hub, as an example. And we also have similar sites under development in Morocco, in Mauritania, in Oman. So all over the world, this massive scale where one large scale plant can be multiplied over and over. And then after that, we end up with a global picture. And based on the announcement that we are tracking at the association, as I mentioned, we have different projects, and one of them is a database. So we keep track of two main things. So we keep track of all low carbon ammonia plants announcement and also ammonia for maritime fuels. So we have databases for those two main topics. And as you can see, already 150 million tons of low carbon ammonia is under development today. And it is not operational, most of it, but it's coming, and it's coming quite quickly. So there are a lot of things we need to solve to make this happen, and safety is one of those big issues that we need to make sure we're pulling together all the information we have, all the previous knowledge from existing market, and do this in the most responsible way. And put this kind of numbering up of project developments of green ammonia supply, blue ammonia supply, low carbon supply, and is what's going to enable the development of all the markets for these combustion applications and cracking applications. So for the next slide, I'm sure most of you have seen already these numbers. I always like also to show it. If you haven't seen this, we invite you to look at the report we developed with IRENA, the Ammonia Outlook, where we see that by 2050, global ammonia demand is expected to increase to 688 million tons of ammonia in a 1.5 degree scenario. So what I would like to mention here is that all of these projections, all of these numbers are based on the requirement that ammonia has a low carbon footprint. And for that, certification is critical for all of these applications, and this to happen. Ammonia has to be low carbon. The certification needs to be credible, it needs to be real, and it needs to happen. So in this slide, what we've done is I put together the numbers. So as we see, global ammonia demand from existing markets in 2020, that it was 183 million tons, mostly fertilizers, and just the other rest, 15% for other users. But we can see very clearly in this slide how this will shift and the importance of all the new markets that are coming from ammonia. Yes, fertilizers are still going to be in these projections the main market, but if we look at the fuel maritime industry, the expect of 197 million tons, and then hydrogen carrier, other uses, and power generation. So actually for power generation, these numbers are based on the announcements that were available when the report was produced, which was mainly in Japan. But of course, if new announcements, this number is expected to grow and actually be larger. So what I was saying is that based on the requirement that ammonia has a low carbon profile, but it doesn't mean that it needs to be all renewable. There are other options even beyond green and blue, right? So we see biomass, nuclear ammonia. So in the AA, we are developing a certification program within the association that will support this, like all the markets, and it's not limited to just low carbon ammonia. So one of the principles we agreed upon within the association was that we need to support the pathways of decarbonization of existing markets that are now responsible of 1% of global emissions, and also for new markets. So we need to look at both, and we need to start by measuring that in a responsible way. So this is a certification scheme that extends beyond, as I mentioned, low carbon and zero carbon ammonia, that quantifies the carbon intensity of ammonia, and that is not based on colors or categories. It is really looking at the absolute carbon intensity. And you might ask, why are we not starting with colors? So this is because what it is green here in Europe might not be green in Japan or green in the US or in Mauritania. So the idea is to, before we start talking about colors, to have this quantification of the carbon intensity. And another thing is that, as you saw in the numbers, the main market growth is expected for maritime sector and for international trade as ammonia for hydrogen carrier. And for that, we need global harmonization of this certification scheme, and to be able to be adaptable for across multiple sectors and cover all of these that I have mentioned before, but also to enable trading of certificates across ammonia markets. This is a project we have with our members. However, it is not limited to just our members. We have international partners also involved in the certification initiative. As you can see, one of the aims is to actually provide global harmonization, and for that we need input and knowledge from organizations from all over the world. So now we're on a design phase, and we're looking the implementation phase to begin on 2023, next year. And we're inviting everyone who is interested to join our certification scheme to reach out and let us know, and we will be happy to include you if you're working on some projects of ammonia, including this certification scheme, where we have 3 working groups looking at different aspects of the certification. So working group 1 is working on principles, methods, and governance. Then we have working group 2, which is looking at ammonia pathways, and working group 3, that is specifically for markets, policies, and regulations. So yeah, as I mentioned, we are currently we have our conference in Phoenix, Arizona in November. And yeah, thank you very much.